Some dreams are like fleeting memories, drifting in and out of our minds, barely leaving a trace. But then, there are those rare dreams that feel different ones, that seem to have a deeper meaning, like they are trying to tell us something important. In 1999, a little-known illustrator in Japan published a strange manga that chronicled 15 such dreams she had experienced. At first, no one really paid attention. It was not flashy or dramatic. The art was simple, not especially polished, and the subject matter seemed odd. But one by one, those dreams began to come true in ways that could not be ignored. Yet there is one dream that has yet to happen. The final one, which is set to take place on July 5, 2025, at precisely 5:00 a.m. According to the book, this event is foretold to happen at that exact time. What could this dream possibly reveal, and why has it been haunting readers for over 20 years? In today's video, we will try to uncover the mystery, so buckle up and get ready for today's story. But before we dive in, do not forget to like and subscribe. Legend has it that if you do, your luck might just change. Back on July 1st, 1999, in Japan, something unusual happened. A manga was published with a title that, while simple, carried a sense of foreboding. The Future I Saw. The book was not flashy or attention-grabbing, which is probably why no one really cared about it at first. It was not created by a famous artist, and there was no media blitz to promote it. In fact, if someone had casually flipped through the pages, they would have seen what looked like a bunch of random sketches, simple pencil drawings that illustrated a series of bizarre dreams, accompanied by odd notes scribbled in the margins. The book felt more like a private dream journal, rough, chaotic, at times unclear, and at other times so cryptic that its meaning seemed almost impossible to decipher. But as strange as it was, there was something compelling about it that no one could quite put their finger on. Fast forward to March 11, 2011. Japan was rocked by a massive earthquake and tsunami that devastated the northeastern part of the country. Over 15,000 people lost their lives, and tens of thousands were reported missing. The images of a modern, high-tech nation being consumed by the sea were broadcast around the world in stunned silence. But in the midst of all the confusion and fear, a strange discovery was made. Someone remembered that long-forgotten comic book, The Future I Saw. Upon revisiting it, the public was shocked. One of the dreams sketched in the book appeared to predict the events of the earthquake and tsunami. The dream depicted waves flooding the streets, tsunami waters crashing inland, and a strange set of numbers, 311, appearing on the cover, as if it was a warning of what was to come. The coincidence was too eerie to ignore, and the public began to examine the book in greater detail. What they discovered was even more unsettling. Inside the book were a total of 15 dreams, and according to readers, 12.5 of them had already come true. The Future I Saw had become a prophetic text, and now, all eyes were on the artist behind it. People wanted to know who she was, and more importantly, what she knew. However, when the public sought answers, they were met with a name, Tatsuki, but no other information. There were no records about her identity. Even the publisher had lost track of the person who had created the book. In an era where it is nearly impossible for someone to remain anonymous, Tatsuki's complete disappearance after publishing the book only added to the mystery. And as Tatsuki's name spread, so did a wave of imposters on social media. Fake accounts popped up, claiming to be the real Tatsuki, even releasing new prophecies. Public opinion became a chaotic storm. Some believed it was all a hoax, while others speculated that Tatsuki was not an individual at all, but rather an organization or a product created by unseen forces. Then, in October 2023, just as the mystery of The Future I Saw was gaining traction once again, Tatsuki reappeared. She re-released the original book, this time with more details and explanations. Now, The Future I Saw was not just a collection of fragmented dreams. It had become a comprehensive document of her experiences, carefully recorded and carefully revealed. And with this new edition came more insight into Tatsuki herself. She was born on December 2, 1954, in Kanagawa Prefecture, and she now lives in the port city of Yokohama. Her childhood was not remarkable. She was like many other children of post-war Japan. She loved to paint, enjoyed singing, and was known for being dreamy and sensitive. But there was something unusual about her from a young age. Starting at the age of 9, Tatsuki began to experience dreams that were unlike those of ordinary people. These dreams featured an old man with silver white hair, gentle eyes, and a slow, calm voice. He would appear beside her in her dreams and speak of things that had yet to come. They would talk while walking under the moonlight, and the old man would whisper cryptic messages that Tatsuki would not fully understand until many years later. The first dream that truly unsettled Tatsuki came in 1976. It was a night in November when she saw a man singing under bright stage lights, only to suddenly collapse. The audience gasped, and Tatsuki immediately recognized the man. It was none other than Freddie Mercury, the iconic lead singer of Queen. At the time, Freddie Mercury was in his prime. His health was strong, his voice powerful, and his presence commanding. The idea of him dying was unthinkable, yet Tatsuki sketched the dream and documented it in her journal. Without knowing why, 15 years later, on November 24, 1991, the world was rocked by the death of Freddie Mercury. His passing was covered widely in the media, and fans mourned across the globe. When Tatsuki saw the news, she could not believe her eyes. She immediately opened her journal from 1976 and found that the dream she had recorded all those years ago had been eerily accurate. Not only had she foreseen Freddie's death, but the journal also contained a small, almost trivial, drawing an image of a film crew shooting a scene about a deceased artist. This image seemed insignificant at the time, but it now matched the reality of the documentary footage she was seeing on TV about Freddie Mercury's legacy. This unsettling connection made Tatsuki realize that what she was experiencing were not just ordinary dreams. There was something much more profound at work. And so, Tatsuki's prophetic dreams continued, and they began to follow a strange pattern. Some of the dreams came true 5 years later, others 10, and some precisely 15 years after they had been dreamed. Tatsuki documented every dream in great detail. She did not leave anything out. The setting, the sounds, the colors, the names, the time, and even the emotions that accompanied each dream were all recorded. One such dream occurred on August 31, 1992. Tatsuki saw herself walking down a long corridor bathed in light, with towering windows lining the walls. At the end of the corridor, there was a painting of a blonde woman holding a child, with the name Dana written across the canvas. Suddenly there was a blinding light, the sound of metal crashing, and the cries of people. 5 years later, on August 31, 1997, the world was again stunned by the death of Princess Diana in a tragic car crash in Paris. Tatsuki's journal, which had recorded the dream so vividly, showed the same date, the same moment, and the same feelings of dread. Once again, Tatsuki's dreams had proven to be eerily accurate. From 1995 onward, the dreams became even more frequent, and they began to involve events of global significance, natural disasters, earthquakes, tsunamis, and other cataclysmic events. Tatsuki's sense of urgency grew, and she began to compile all of these dreams into a book, The Future I Saw, which would one day become a phenomenon in Japan and beyond. But as soon as the book was released in 1999, Tatsuki vanished once again. For 2 decades, no one knew where she went. It was only after the 2011 disaster that the book came to the forefront, again sparking new interest and drawing attention to Tatsuki's prophetic visions. And just as the world seemed ready to uncover the truth, Tatsuki returned once more, this time with a new edition of the book, complete with even more dreams, including one that has yet to come true. In July 2021, Tatsuki experienced a new dream that shook her to the core. It was unlike anything she had ever seen before. In the dream, she stood alone in a vast, desolate field of water, beneath a sky that was dark and ashen, no sunlight to be found. The sea south of Japan began to bubble, as if something enormous were stirring beneath the surface. Suddenly, from the depths of the ocean, 2 massive dragons emerged. They twisted and writhed in a way that made it seem like they were tearing apart the Earth's crust. The sight was both surreal and terrifying. Then, there was an explosion. The ground shook, and everything fell silent. The land had been consumed by the ocean, leaving nothing behind but the waves and the echo of an impending catastrophe. Tatsuki woke up with her heart racing, gasping for air, as if she had been submerged in that same vast, cold sea. The dream was unmistakably connected to an earlier one she had had back in 1999. The imagery was similar, but this time, it was clearer, more violent. It was as though the dream was trying to tell her that something terrible was about to happen, a warning of something larger than anything she had witnessed before. The repetition of these prophetic dreams could not be ignored. Tatsuki knew she had to share it. In 2023, she re-released her book, The Future I Saw, in a new, expanded edition. This time, it was not just a collection of prophetic dreams. It was a detailed account of her visions, including the terrifying dream she had in 2021. And what she revealed about her dream in 2021 was both chilling and fascinating. She saw the ocean, which had been calm at first, suddenly bubble up in massive bursts. Then, the two enormous dragons began to emerge, twisting beneath the water's surface. As the scene unfolded in her dream, she saw these dragons coiling around something that lay hidden beneath the waves, something powerful and ancient, waiting to break free. Moments later, the water exploded in a massive column, sending waves taller than those from the 2011 disaster toward the shore. The waves were 3 times the height of the tsunami that had hit Japan, dragging everything in their path, buildings, cars, people, sweeping them all away in an unstoppable tide. The most disturbing part of the dream, however, was what happened next. As the tsunami raged across the land, a new landmass began to rise from the sea. The water churned, and the soil heaved upwards, stone by stone, until the shape of a new land emerged, jagged and raw, like something that had been buried for millennia, suddenly waking from a deep slumber. Tatsuki knew that this new land would eventually connect Japan with Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, forming a new landmass. The dream was apocalyptic in nature, yet it also contained the possibility of something new, a new beginning that would come after the destruction. But what made this dream even more unsettling was the fact that Tatsuki knew the exact date when it would happen. The dream clearly stated, July 5, 2025, at 5:00 a.m. The date was written in the dream, as though it were an undeniable fact, a prophecy that could not be ignored. The future was laid bare in that moment, and Tatsuki felt compelled to share this warning with the world. Tatsuki understood that many people would be skeptical. After all, such predictions seem impossible to believe, but she also knew that if even a small number of people took her warning seriously, there might still be a chance to prepare for the disaster should it come to pass. And so, in the expanded edition of her book, she included a note alongside the dream, acknowledging the skepticism, but also imploring readers to consider the possibility that this dream might be a vision of the future, a future that could change everything. For some, Tatsuki's dream was nothing more than the ramblings of a person who had become overly anxious about the world's future. It was easy for people to dismiss it as superstition, or the product of an overactive imagination. But for those who had followed Tatsuki's predictions from the 1970s onward, there was a deeper understanding. They knew that Tatsuki had accurately predicted countless events in the past. Her dreams were not just random thoughts. They were messages from the future, ones that could not be ignored. The big question, of course, was whether such an event could actually happen. Could the ocean really rise, form a new landmass, and connect countries that were once separated by sea? While it may sound like something out of a science fiction novel, there is actually a surprising amount of scientific evidence that suggests it could happen, at least in theory. Japan lies within a geologically active region known as the Pacific Ring of Fire. This region is where multiple tectonic plates converge, and it is home to the highest concentration of underwater volcanoes in the world. Tectonic plates are constantly shifting, ever so slowly. Over time, these shifts can cause earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and sometimes even the formation of new land. In fact, history provides a few examples that make Tatsuki's dreams seem more plausible. In 2013, just 500 meters off the coast of Nishinoima Island in Japan, an underwater volcano erupted, creating a new island that had never been there before. Within a few months, this island grew rapidly, and eventually merged with the main island of Nishinoima, doubling its size. Another example occurred in 2021, in the Kuril Islands, a region disputed between Japan and Russia. An underwater volcano erupted unexpectedly, and within a short time, a new island formed. Meteorologists who flew in to inspect the area were shocked to find that the land had emerged from the sea with no prior warning. These events, though on a smaller scale, demonstrated that underwater volcanic eruptions could indeed give birth to new land, and Tatsuki's dream, with its imagery of rising dragons and the creation of a new landmass, seems to line up with the scientific principles behind such natural events. But the dream's most significant detail is the location of the two dragons. Tatsuki's drawing of the dragons closely matches the positions of two major tectonic plates beneath the Pacific Ocean, the Philippine Sea Plate and the Pacific Plate. These plates are known for their high levels of seismic activity, and they sit at the very location where the likelihood of an underwater volcanic eruption is the greatest. If the conditions are right, it is possible that an eruption could cause the seafloor to rise, pushing up new land. While the chances of this happening on July 5, 2025 are slim, it is not entirely outside the realm of possibility. And that is what makes Tatsuki's dream so unnerving. It is not just a vision of destruction, it is a vision of something new, something transformative, and something that could change the very shape of the earth as we know it. But there is one more part of this story that has left people wondering for years. In the late 1990s, Tatsuki had another dream, one so powerful and unsettling that she was not sure she was ready to share it with the world. It was a dream that had haunted her for years, and one that she could not fully comprehend until much later. In this dream, Tatsuki heard a resounding sound that seemed to come from deep within the earth. It was so powerful that it made her spine shudder, even in her sleep. The sound was like the roar of something ancient, something that had been buried for millennia, now awakening. In the dream, she looked at the clock and saw that it read exactly 5:00. But there was no way to tell whether it was 5:00 a.m. or 5:00 p.m. She stepped outside of her home, only to find that everything had been destroyed. Roads were cracked and shattered. Buildings had been torn apart as if an invisible force had ripped them from the earth. Cars were overturned, power lines flickered, and there was no sign of life. The streets were empty, desolate. Then she saw a grand bridge stretching across a river, but the latter half of the bridge was gone, swallowed by some unseen force. Tatsuki realized, with a growing sense of dread, that she was not standing on solid ground. Instead, she was surrounded by water. The landscape was unrecognizable, and she knew, with chilling certainty, that everything had changed. She awoke from the dream, shaken and uncertain. When Tatsuki re-released The Future I Saw in 2023, she included this dream in the new edition. She was not sure if the vision had anything to do with the 2011 earthquake, but she felt that the dream was more terrifying than anything she had experienced before. The detail that sent shivers down readers' spines was the fact that, in her dream, she was wearing a short-sleeved shirt. This might seem like a minor detail, but it was important because the 2011 tsunami occurred during winter. Yet Tatsuki's dream took place in the summer. It was as if the dream was pointing to something far more devastating, something that would occur in the warmer months of 2025. The chilling details of Tatsuki's dream and the warning she shared with the world have left many people deeply unsettled. But the truth is, these dreams, these visions, have been a part of her life for decades. Tatsuki has never been fully prepared to face the reality of what she has seen in her dreams. It is not just the visions themselves that haunt her, but the feeling of helplessness that comes with them. She has witnessed disasters before they happened, and yet there has been nothing she could do to stop them. Even now, as she warns the world about the possibility of a massive tsunami and the creation of a new landmass in 2025, she is still unsure of how much influence she has, or whether anyone will listen in time. For Tatsuki, this has never been about fame or fortune. She has never sought recognition for her prophetic abilities. In fact, she has done everything in her power to remain hidden, to stay out of the public eye. But with the release of The Future I Saw, and the startling accuracy of her predictions, she finds herself in a position where the world is looking to her for answers. People want to know whether the events she has dreamed about are inevitable, or if they can still be prevented. For some, it is a comforting thought that these predictions are just dreams, improbable, unlikely, and perhaps even the product of an overactive imagination. But for others, Tatsuki's dreams are a warning that cannot be ignored. The question is, what should we do with this knowledge? Should we prepare for the worst, or hope that it is all just a coincidence? Many experts and scientists have weighed in on Tatsuki's visions, particularly the idea of a new landmass rising from the ocean. While it might seem far-fetched, there is scientific evidence to support the possibility of such an event occurring. The Pacific Ring of Fire, where Japan is located, is one of the most seismically active regions on Earth. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions are frequent, and the shifting of tectonic plates could potentially lead to the formation of new land. In fact, the examples of new islands forming in recent years, like the ones off the coast of Nishinoyama Island in 2013 and in the Kuril Islands in 2021, provide tangible evidence that the Earth's crust is constantly shifting and changing. While these events were small in scale, they prove that the possibility of a larger, more significant eruption creating a new landmass is not as improbable as it might seem. If Tatsuki's vision comes true, and the sea south of Japan does bubble up with the emergence of two massive dragons, it could signify the beginning of a major tectonic shift, a shift that would reshape the geographical landscape of the Pacific region. The land could rise, connecting Japan with Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines, forming a new supercontinent in the Pacific. And with this new land would come new challenges, new opportunities, and a new chapter in the history of humanity. But that is not all. The implications of Tatsuki's dreams go beyond just the physical changes that may occur. Her visions also carry a deep sense of emotional and psychological weight. In her dream of the catastrophic tsunami, there is a moment when she witnesses the land being swallowed by the waves, and she realizes that everything is changing forever. In that moment, Tatsuki feels a deep sense of loss, not just for the physical destruction, but for the lives and cultures that would be affected. It is a feeling of helplessness, a sense that no matter how much we try to prepare, some things are beyond our control. Tatsuki's dream serves as a reminder that no matter how advanced we become as a society, there are forces in nature that we cannot fully comprehend or predict. It is a reminder that we are all part of a much larger system, and that our actions can have far-reaching consequences. Whether we believe in her prophecies or not, we cannot ignore the fact that the world is constantly changing and that we must be prepared to adapt to those changes. In the end, what Tatsuki's story teaches us is the importance of being aware of staying vigilant and open to the possibility that the future might not always unfold the way we expect. We may not be able to prevent every disaster or predict every change, but we can learn from the past and take steps to protect ourselves and our communities. And perhaps most importantly, we can learn to embrace uncertainty, knowing that the future is always a mystery and that sometimes the answers are found in the dreams we have today. So as we approach July 5th, 2025, and the time of Tatsuki's final dream, the question remains: will we be ready? Will we heed the warning and prepare for what might come? Or will we simply dismiss it as another fantastical tale? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Tatsuki's dreams have left an indelible mark on our understanding of the future, and they have shown us that even the most improbable events can happen, if only we are paying attention. As we wrap up today's video, I want to know what you think. Do you believe that Tatsuki's dreams are real? Or are they just the result of an overactive imagination? Are we headed for a massive catastrophe in 2025? Or is it all just a coincidence? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I am always open to hearing your opinions and discussing these fascinating mysteries with you. If you enjoyed today's video and want to keep exploring stories like this one, do not forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I will be back with more intriguing stories, so be sure to join me next time.